I haven't even get one of that.
Yes, it's a
And I have like 40 hours in the
rare
game.
amulet, but basically, like, gear is starting to get hyper expensive. I think Exalt to Divine ratio is like 500,
Yeah, that divine orb. I've never get one of that.
600, to, exalts to one divine. Everything's getting very inflated. So I think one thing that's going to make players come back immediately would be a fresh economy. Now, for point number 2, you might say, okay, well, that's great. They can do a fresh economy, but if the inflation's still out of control, then we have to solve that as well. And I would tend to agree with it. I think part of the way you could do that, in my opinion, one of the next most important things is crafting. We need some sort of systems of crafting added.
Yeah, that crafting is talk shit. I talk about that in my yeah, in my review. I talk about that. That crafting is horrendous, fam. Like if I didn't get help from my chat, I wouldn't even reach the end game, to be honest. I would have probably just quit at like Act 2.
To this game. Right now we have essences, and essences are kind of okay, but you just don't get a lot of these greater essences. Plus, it's like basically straight up RNG. And the other thing is the omens can actually be quite good, but they just typically don't really exist. I mean, they do exist, but they're like so rare to the point of, I think an omen of Witherline is like 25 divine or something, which just removes like the lowest stat, in from one item. And then you still have to, it still slams on a random stat. So it's like it's crafting, but also like, kind of still RNG. So
Yeah, the crafting is shocking. And as a new player to the RPG scene, like games, and PoE2 is the first RPG I've ever played. And as a new player, is not new player friendly, to be honest. Like the craft in the end game is shocking.
we could use
I'm still using level 16 years. I'm getting one shot.
a way to have crafting with the currencies we have. I'm not saying necessarily add the crafting bench in right away, but I would love to see some new league mechanics.
One sec.
Rolled into crafting the game, so we have some sort of currency sinks. But it's not just currency sinks that crafting would be great for. It's also like creating items. Right
Ah,
now the process of, oh, I have an item. It's like almost good, and the only thing you do is slam, slam. Okay, and it doesn't have movement speed, and it's garbage. So like that.
no, yeah. Craft, I walk you through.
That's basically the crafting in the game right now. It's identifying with extra steps. I heard somebody say that one time. I forgot who it was, but I thought that's a pretty good way of
It's not crafting. It's doing a bunch of shit.
putting it. It's identifying with slow extra steps. So two obvious ones in the beginning, but you need them in the game. We need an economy reset, and we need fresh crafting. Now, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen people say that because it's called Dawn of the Hunt, they think that the Bestiary or Einhar crafting might be coming to the game. If you don't know what that is, it's like a way of sort of deterministically crafting a gear or moving one thing from like a prefix to a suffix. It's got a whole bunch of different, things you can add depending upon the monsters that you capture around the map. You use them as basically currency to craft an item. This could come to the game, but I've heard.
You know what? Even fucking worse. I'm gonna tell you what's worse. Right? What's worse is when you go to craft a waystone, all that shit gives you, it don't even give you shit. It just boosts the mobs up. I mean, boss whatever, boost that shit up, give them advantages, and then you go in there and get one shot. And it's annoying. You try to put stuff in it, and it's ass. Absolutely shocking.
Another take, which kind of is a counter to the fact that I went blind into the game.
I hate it so much. Like, as soon as I reach tier 2 map, as soon as I reach tier 2 map, I get one shot, and I stop playing the end game. I just went and tried to play a archer, and then get bored, like, in the Greenwood place in Aquan. Now I'm back to playing League of Legends. I'll probably wait till April 4th and show the game I'm playing.
To be fair, but I actually quite agree with it, which is that you probably don't just want to copy like all of Path of Exile 1's mechanics straight into Path of Exile 2. Like Path of Exile 2 is a new game. It would be cool to see new League mechanics as well. Basically, all of the League mechanics that we have in the game, Breach, Expedition, Ritual, etc., are just stuff that was already in Path of Exile 1. So it would be cool to see Path of Exile 2 start to develop, its own League mechanics as opposed to doing like a one-for-one copy of ones that were already in Path of Exile 1. Of course, the counterpoint to this is, well, the Path of Exile 1 mechanics are tried and true, and people know already how they're implemented, etc. So depends upon where you stand on that. Either way, fresh economy with crafting. Would love to see these additions sooner rather than later. Okay, number 3 is going to be skill rebalancing for me. As it stands, basically.
Next problem with this is, right? Why when the skill give you something, it takes back something away. Just put that one thing on the skill. Like, you get 50% damage, or do less of this, or less area effect. Bam. It's not fun for new players.
Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder delivery systems are more or less like a huge chunk of the builds. How many Spark builds have you seen? How many, Pillar of the Cage God, Stat Stacker type of builds have you seen? This is pretty overwhelming in the meta, which isn't actually like too uncommon in ARPGs. Like I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, the game has so many builds that are just all the same." It's like, yeah, you guys are actually right about that, but it hasn't bothered me too much because I see this in other ARPGs as well as even Path of Exile 1. Like how many people are running Lightning Strike again, in the Freesia event league. So, this is something I'm kind of used to, but the percentage of people that are running like Herald of Ice builds in order to make like almost anything work is actually like extremely high. So
I'm using that here, Herald of Ice. I just pop and everything blows up really nice, but
for sure expect these at least to get rebalanced, but I would like it to be more than just like nerfing the stuff that's good. It would be great. And they even said it in their own post in which the things that they think need to be changed is bringing up the power of some like underutilized builds. Both passive trees are going to be number 4 for me with some changes. I'm assuming we're going to see it because if you look at things like the spears, and we know spears are coming because that's what's coming with the Huntress, you can see these are obviously placeholders, and this area is very tuned, for instance, to like a ranger style build. So I'm assuming we're going to see some tweaks to the passive trees in Jimro. But notably also to like the balance system of energy shield right now. Basically every build, if you want to survive, you just stack an absolute ton of energy shield. And on the life side of the tree, you're really just not getting much, like if any life at all. There's a couple nodes that give you a little bit of percentage of life, but there's not too many of these over here. This ends up making like mind over matter like an actual life pool. People can basically get tons of mana. You can see a lot of mana, and I feel like mana has kind of become the new life here. but not really for people that are in this side of the tree, right? If you're running a warrior or something and you really just don't want to have to abuse energy shield, and plus it feels weird to do so anyway, you're
Yeah,
kind of
warrior is
incentivized to stack
ass.
strength, especially if you want to do things like giant split, etc. I mean, you
Warrior
guys get the
is
point. I
ass,
definitely
fam.
think
Slow
a
as
little bit of
shit.
rebalancing of the passive tree and hopefully some buffs to like life nodes, etc. here for the warrior. And if we're not going to do that, then maybe shifting of this some power from energy shield to like evasion armor or something as well. Like I feel like evasion's like pretty good, but armor could still use a bit of a buff, and energy shield is just overtuned. Tie this into the same point here of the Atlas.
This year, right? I complete like when you finish the acts and then you start doing maps. I do the first 10 maps, right? And then I get 2 points. And I look at this shit, this Atlas tree thing, and I have no idea what's going on. Like I need to like I have no clue. Like I took I, it's crazy.
Tree. They did mention they're going to be adding new additions to the Atlas tree. I'm excited by this because
They need to do that whole tree over. That tree is shit.
at the moment this Atlas tree just seems like you're using this just to sustain some waystones, and because these are separated, it means you can do all of them, but also it means that the original Atlas tree here feels a little bit lackluster because you're not really getting like
Exactly.
specializations
Waste
into
of time.
anything too much in particular. You're just kind of getting like waystones, 10% higher chance, 10% higher chance, quantity of this, packs of monsters, and don't get me wrong, like these are actually like good nodes here, but it does feel a little bit boring on the basic Atlas tree here. Number 5 for me is going to be a little bit more excitement around the Atlas. I like the concept of the Atlas. I'm actually not a huge hater of the Atlas. I see a lot of people that do not like the concept of Atlas. I think some of that comes from the way you juice it up with the towers, which I tend to agree with. I don't find towers unenjoyable to run. I find the process of like running the towers to juice the other maps to be a little bit tedious is sort of where I would agree with people here. But with that being said, I think my favorite thing about the Atlas is kind of like you're exploring a direction and you're uncovering and you're seeing what's there. And it needs, and I agree with them with their own sentiment where they said they need more exciting things to find. Like, how you can be around here and
Yeah, because I went through the first 10 tier 1 maps. I couldn't find one single good item. Not one. Not one item. I could say, okay, I could probably use this on this character or that. Not one item. I'm telling you. And all the items I got, I didn't even get them. They were traded to me by my viewers. I didn't get one. I went through this whole game and I didn't get or craft a good item or get a good boss drop item. Not fucking once. Even any maps going through the first 10 straight out of the act 3 on Cruel Moon, not a single thing. I got so frustrated, ALTF for the fucking game.
you can find like a little moment of zen, or if you go near some of the citadels, for instance, you can find like unique maps. Like here's an example, Stone Citadel, and right here you have like the vaults. Basically all of the unique maps so far have been low in quantity as well as kind of like underwhelming. The vaults are more or less like worse payout than just running a normal map so far. And the moments of Zen are pretty cool. You can go in there and you can get like a random unique item. Like I like this style. It's just you show up, you get kind of a random item here, but more times than not, it's like kind of underwhelming. Like you don't really typically get something too great, and that's the stuff that's can actually be pretty cool. You can get like
You
these
get
ghost
nothing.
boots or something
You get fuck all.
that might like make a whole new build. Pretty cool. I don't think that this necessarily needs to be buffed, but if you had more of like quantity of these types of things, where you're kind of running into something, you're being rewarded for exploring, I think the exploring wouldn't feel as bad. Then it doesn't just feel like I have to do this thing in order to get maps. I've said this before in another video, but I think it would go a long ways. Is if you could actually click up here and search for these keywords. So you have sort of your your legend here. If I could type in like unique map and then with a little arrow, and it would click and like go boom, lock me onto here, and then click the next one, boom, it take me to the next one. I think being able to search through this would be a pretty big addition in my own personal opinion. So I'm really hoping we see something like that added on the 27th when they start announcing these here. So I think a little bit of Atlas retuning. I don't think it's that far off and being pretty enjoyable, but I've seen feedback related to the Atlas tree, and this is probably one of the more notable portions of feedback we've seen from players. And I tend to agree it could use a little bit of reworking combined with this Atlas with some additional additions. I think pretty quickly become enjoyable. All in all, I kind of just like don't feel the way I've seen with some people where they say like it's a bad base or it's unsalvageable or unsafe. Like I just don't feel this way. I actually quite enjoy the game as it is, and I see it as being very close to being a very enjoyable game. I don't think it's going to make the 1 year early access release, if we're being
Me
honest. I don't
either.
think it's going to make it out in
2
12 months. I think
years.
we're probably looking a year and a half.
Yeah.
Instead of being like December 6th, 2024 to December 6th, 2025. I think we're probably looking at like
We're looking at summer next fucking year, though.
summer of next year or something.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I
yeah.
was a betting
See,
man, that's where I'd be putting my money. But I'm not so worried about the cadence of the release because I think if they get all of the releases right, they get the league mechanics, in-game solved, etc. I'm actually pretty positive about this game overall, and I've been having a good time even 700.
they need to fix the damage and the poison damage and all the resistance fucking damage, lightning, ice damage in the early stages of the end game. Cause like a new player like me coming and going into the end games with like no gears, cause the boss and the axe give you fuck all. You guys one shot. It's annoying. The reason why I was even able to get through the first 10 is because like again my viewers gave trade me stuff, right? And yet still I went in. I had to do the maps of them so many times over because I died so much times. It's annoying.
Hours later. So
I don't like it. Like after the act, like act 3, the maps are big and it's started to get boring really quick. I mean the game is fun. I like the combat and all that, but fuck what make it boring is you don't get good shit. To be honest, you don't get good shit. And let's say if you try to craft a normal item and hope for like you get something good at crafting is not exciting. Fuck.
that's about it. I'll be live today. You can click the link
Uh
down below.